Holmes?
It's
Josh
So-
talking about you can sprint for 2 weeks. Motherfucker, you can't
You
sprint
can't
for
sprint
2
for
weeks.
40 seconds.
yeah, I can.
Been talking all week about can't see you sprint for 40 seconds.
It's
I
only
tell you
20
what.
seconds.
The sprint is 20 seconds.
So 20 seconds. Oh, okay. Josh says he goes from 200 heart rate to 120 in, what do you say, 20 seconds or something? 40 seconds.
Yeah, not this guy.
A little more than 40.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong. I take full advantage of the 40 seconds, but my heart rate doesn't come down below like 135 in that 40 seconds, that 40-second block.
Okay, so
No.
didn't we talk about this last time? We talked about this on the last
We didn't. I
episode.
don't think we talked
The
about heart
sprints?
rates and stuff. We talked.
the
Maybe we
sprints.
talked about sprints, but yeah,
Sprint workouts.
they're talking about heart rate.
Fart licks.
That's right.
Herschel Jericho likes to call them a fart lick because that's what they are.
Fartlek runs. Didn't we
Yeah.
used to call? We used to call them Indian runs, right? I mean, you can't. I don't
What?
think you. I don't think you can call them that anymore, right?
So
Then
insensitive.
it was
I
like
don't know.
it's kind of like
So-
the last man up runs.
Last person up runs, whatever.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, we
They were
can't say
actually showing a
man
bunch
up.
of stuff on Fox News today, and I only
Jesus.
caught snippets of it. Of like, you can't call it a cockpit. You have to call it flight deck. You can't call it. Dude, there were like 3 or 4 things on there. I'm like, I didn't know these have changed, and some of them I'm like, I actually like when you hear it, there was no sexual connotation. Like I never even. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't realize that that's what that's why it's termed that way. But
Well, so on Tuesday morning, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I get up, working some long days. As you can see, I'm still in a hotel, and I get up. I just turn on the news, right? And what do I go to? Just go to my Fox News because why not? Whatever. Fox News is entertainment to me, not necessarily news. And the first banner I see at 06 in the morning is the Biden administration is weighing phasing out gas stoves. And I just literally turned the TV off. I was like, there are very few. I'm a simple man. I like simple things. I like hot water for my shower. Don't take that away from me. I like cooking on a gas stove. And you're gonna take that away from me. Really? I mean, and then AOC, y'all saw the AOC thing, right? Where she's like, NO2, nitrogen dioxide, is known to cause mental impairment or something like that. And then people started dragging her and showing her own kitchen that she took and filmed on Instagram, her kitchen in DC in her apartment. It's a gas stove. And then they showed Joe Biden's got a gas stove. And it's like, you people are jumping the shark on this. You need to back off. 40% of households in the United States have gas stoves. And of the 60% that don't, probably 80% of those would like to have one.
heck yeah, I love my gas stove.
Yeah, man. How are chefs going to do their work, man?
Yeah, the vast majority of restaurants have gas stoves. I remember we have an electric stove, but I remember my both of my grandmothers had a gas stove, and my my parents now they have a gas stove because my mom doesn't like to cook on anything but and it does. Almost every place we've lived, being in the military, we've always had an electric stove. But gas stoves, man, so much easier to cook on. They're nice. Just come with the gas stoves, like you said, 40%. There's 187 million private households in the United States that have gas stoves in them. And you're gonna turn around and be like, oh, we're gonna go ahead and ban gas stoves. Like,
based on that study, I took a look at it because I was intrigued, and the study was, I don't know if I would say flawed, but it's definitely questionable. So they're talking about asthma and children in homes with gas stoves, and then a bunch of people were coming out and says it really the chemical output isn't necessarily from the flame because it burns really clean. It depends on what you're cooking, right? And then it's like, did they take into account how many smokers there were in the same household as a gas stove? And there were a lot of variables that were not calculated in that study. So I think it's spurious. there's more to it, Roger. What I mean, like, what's the angle?
You know, what kills me is this. So we don't want gas stoves because it's not good for you. So we're going to make you cook your double whopper with cheese on the electric stove, and we're going to have you fry your potatoes and French fries in an electric fry daddy, right? Because that's way. But there is no holistic approach to any of this stuff. It's the same thing we've seen with COVID. That, oh, by the way, I think Josh brought this up. By the way, if you're in shape, you're in better health, and your chances of getting sick or your chances of recovery are a lot better, right? So it's like they nitpick these little things. And then, of course, AOC, puts out, let me be clear, we're not going to ban stoves, but all the new construction are going to have electric stoves. And if you convert right now, we'll give you a $650 tax credit.
If you like your stove, you can keep your stove.
Yeah. $650. Does $650 even buy an electric stove? And then I'm assuming if you don't have electric hookup, like we have gas, we don't have an electric hookup there. So I'm assuming I got to pay an electrician then to come run this. So can I get a stove and an electrician for $650? Not at where I live. Not even the people coming across, El Paso coming up here. They're not going to do that stuff for $650. They nitpick little things, and it's it's some constituent or some donor that's donated a lot of money. But now they're even coming out. It's funny because when Phil Treat and a couple other places, they're like, well, if you're actually doing it for health and the environment, gas stoves are minimal. They're like, you actually need to start with your candles. Like your scented candles, they got to go. And be, what? No. I can't take away my, what's that Yankee Doodle candle, whatever the heck it is. You can't take away my candles. You can't take away my Bed Bath & Beyond candles. And they're like, yeah, candles and fireplaces. That's the, that's where you need to start first before you go to gas stoves. And then everybody's like, all of a sudden it just kind of died super, super fast.
So I'm looking on Lowe's website, and I see a 4-element, 4.8 cubic foot freestanding electric range, stainless steel. I would say that's toward the bottom of the line. Amana, 4.8 cubic feet, $599. So that's not installation, that's not pickup, that's not delivery, all that stuff. So, but I just wonder, Josh, like the Google searches that day, by political leaning, all these people who buy into all this nonsense, they hear something and reflexively, Karen's going to tell her husband, Brad, I really think we should switch to an electric stove because, the Biden administration is saying this and they say it's bad and little Johnny and Janie might get asthma. I wonder what the Google searches were for electric stoves that day. Not just from them, but just from anybody like us. I just searched it, You think it spiked?
Oh, 100% it spiked. I mean, who was, who was really caring, who really cared about gas stoves on Tuesday? Not a lot of people.
Well, and it's more expensive. I mean, depending on where you're at. Like, hey, in Arizona, the last thing you want to use is electricity.
Well,
right?
it goes back to what have we spent, the last couple of years looking at what has been stressed. Why is California having rolling blackouts? Right? We saw it here where I live. Substations got sabotaged. Well, guess what? You were out power for a week. You know who was it? You know who could still cook? People with gas stoves, right? And nobody can read that. So we talk about how we're using too much energy, we're using too much electricity, this, that, and the other, and you want to take 187 million households, and put one of their major appliances that gets used multiple times a day, onto the grid. Like that doesn't make any sense. I used to not be a black helicopter guy. But
it's hard
considering that, considering that the Babylon Bee is not satire anymore, because it's reality. Like it's hard not to be. Here's another reason why the government would love for you to, not have a gas stove, because if you have an electric stove, well, if I'm the government, what can I throttle? What can I shut off in your house? I can throttle your thermostat. I can throttle the amount of power going to your house.
Colorado.
Smart stoves.
Smart stoves. So, it's just, it's bad. It's bad business on multiple levels, for multiple reasons.
Here it is. Here's the theory. Here's the conspiracy theory, Josh. Try this one on. Elon Musk has convinced the federal government that he's going to come out with a Tesla stove, all electric, that's going to be even better than a gas stove, just like the cars.
You know what? People laugh, man. 6 months from now, Elon's going to roll one out. Conspiracy theory to reality. It's only about 6 months these days.
So I was holding this thing up. I didn't realize this. So I had to buy a new phone because my son destroyed his, even though he had the newest phone in the family. But you know how that goes with kids. So he destroyed his phone, got a new phone, gave him my old one, bought a new one, whatever. And the first night, I noticed like it didn't charge all the way. And we have one of the stand-up chargers, so you got to put it on there just right and whatever. Well, then as I start going through the settings and looking at the battery, so iPhones now have a clean energy charging toggle. In your region, iPhone will try to reduce your carbon footprint by selectively charging when lower carbon emission electricity is available. iPhone learns from your daily charging routine so it can reach full charge before you need to use it. So I'm out in Arizona, big thing being solar. Solar doesn't happen at night. They have to burn fossil fuels. So Mr. iPhone here didn't charge because, solar power wasn't available. So I had to actually go in and toggle that thing off to get a full charge. So I think if you go check your updates or check your settings on your phone, you probably find that you had the same thing.
I have to go check that. I was not aware of that.
I was not either. That now.
Yeah. So in big news today, what I want to know is this, because here's the important thing. Because Josh owns a Jeep, high-end Jeep. Did you go and check your garage today for any classified materials that you might be storing next to your Jeep?
I didn't. And even if I did, and I found some, I would not tell anybody, and I would be out back in my backyard in my fire pit.
And he's being set up, right? And he's got to be. He's being set up by somebody on the inside.
No, he's not being set up.
No, I'm not talking about placement of the materials, but I'm like you. One, you find something like that in my house. Well, one, you ain't gonna find it. I'm gonna burn it. You're never gonna hear about it. And if you're the president or somebody of that power, he's got people that do this for him, right? So why leak it?
It's so that piece, yeah. No, I completely agree. They are using this to go ahead and start the process to usher Joe out. I completely 100% believe that, because the first batch of documents that were found at the University of Pennsylvania, those were found on November 2nd. Is what's being reported. Yep. Those are found on November 2nd. One, there's a reason why that didn't come out immediately, right? Midterms. And they held it until the House flipped. They saw the House flip. They're like, all right, well, we'll go ahead and let it out because the House is going to run investigations, and the GOP's running it. And then, people were, I think that first one, people were like, oh, okay. And then when his lawyer, whoever, went and, started searching stuff and looking in places and found his box of classified in his garage. But to be fair, though, I mean, he did have his garage locked,
except in the video when he's backing up his Corvette and the garage door is like wide open. Good Lord.
Yeah. So that, and then it's funny because in 2018, Hunter filled out a form for a background check or something, and he listed that he owned that residence. So the residents were all, it's too good to be true.
Somebody asked me a question today, and I thought I knew the answer to it, but then they challenged me. I am pretty sure that every single member of the Senate, once they're confirmed, they are automatically granted a clearance, TSSCI. And this person said, is it the same for the House? And I always assumed it was. And he's go, doesn't it depend on what committee they're on? And this guy he said he didn't know. And I was like, I'm not sure. But let's just say that it is that way. I'm sure one of you guys is Googling that right now. Are you telling me that some moron that, picks up a House seat or even a Senate seat, who is, maybe they're in their late 20s, because that's going to happen pretty soon, or even in their 40s, whatever. It's the first time they've ever done this. They have no experience with classified information. They're probably given some sort of briefing, PowerPoint or whatever, click through the slides and sign the thing. And that's your security training. My whole point is all of these functionaries, every member of the Senate and House that has a clearance, I guarantee you, they have classified documents. They've mishandled them in some way, in a way that would get us in a former life fired for sure. Maybe lose your clearance, so on and so forth. Stored them at their house. We've all seen that. I guarantee you right now, I agree with both you guys. To a point. I think he's being set up to a point, but I think that everyone has a little bit of classified nastiness. Not everyone, but a lot of people have a lot of classified nastiness on their hands, and probably in their garages, at their homes. They just forgot. They put it in their briefcase on the way out. I guarantee you, though, there's been a lot of house cleaning over the past week. A lot of house cleaning. Because it's like, oh, crap, they can get me with this next. When Trump did it, it's Trump. But now it's Biden. And now it's 4 locations, right? There's a lot of house cleaning going on. Maybe I'm off base, but so do House members get a clearance or not? What's y'all's understanding on that?
That I don't know. I'm sure Roger is digging into that right now. One of the things that this happened when the Mar-a-Lago raid happened, and everybody automatically becomes an expert on classification authority and declassification authority. And I tried to have this conversation with somebody on Twitter, I think today or yesterday or something.
You try to have a conversation on Twitter.
I'm a glutton for punishment, right? So, people need to understand. So, the president, as the chief executive of the executive branch, has obviously original classification authority, right? He also has declassification authority over the agencies under the executive branch because, again, he's the chief executive. The vice president is not. The vice president is not the chief executive for any agency in the executive branch. So when you start going in, you dig it into, Executive Order 13526, really specifically, the only time the vice president has declassification authority is, one, he classified the information himself.
Or herself.
He classified the information himself. The information was generated in the vice president's office, or it has been delegated to him by the president. Those are the only 3 instances that the vice president has declassification authority, because the vice president obviously is not the chief executive. But everybody online now is they're an expert. 2 days before they were natural gas experts and asthma experts and everything, and now they're declassification experts. And it was like, and I was trying to tell this person, I was like, hey man, this is the one thing that I know what I'm talking about, because I did this for a very long time, and I not only have I done it, been to training on it, this is I know this, and but hey man, it's Twitter and you can't tell anybody anything. So
I find the arguments fascinating. The arguments between, well, it's different than Trump because, but Roger, what does it mean? People are like, well, somebody in the Biden team did that, when he was vice president. They mishandled the documents and they did it. It's not Biden's fault. And in fact, it's White House confident Biden documents were inadvertently misplaced, and they're arguing by a staffer, so on and so forth. But Roger, and I think we kind of made the same point with Trump in a roundabout way. What does it mean if someone on your staff, from an executive point of view, What does it mean about you as an executive if someone on your staff is so careless as to misplace classified documents in 4 different ones of your location? What does that mean about you as an executive?
You suck. Just like everything he's done so far. I mean,
I was
he
hoping
sits
you'd
there.
say that.
Yeah, he sits there and he talks about, security's I take it seriously and this and that. You you cannot make this stuff up. I was doing the same thing. I was in a conversation with a guy on Twitter, just like Josh was doing, and this was before the classified info drop, right? And the guy was pooping all over Trump, and I'm like, they're like, oh, he's going to jail. He's going to jail. I'm like, he might go to jail. He ain't going to jail over the documents. I mean, there's probably some other things out there, and who knows? God knows what they're going to try to cook up or what they find, or maybe whatever he did, whatever. I said, but he's not going over the documents. And then we go back and forth, and then what happens? Like 5 minutes into the conversation, the first thing about the Biden documents drop. I'm like, oh. And then it's like, well, no, that's different. Yeah, it's different because it's actually worse. Whether it's one document or 300, that doesn't matter in the eyes of the government. It's a security violation, right? That's what CNN is trying to play out. Well, we're only talking about a small number of documents, not just, well, no, from what that was the first slide they put out. That was before they found there were 3 different breaches or 3 different security violations with docs. The thing is, it goes back to what Josh said. Believe it or not, and people may not like to hear this because they don't like to hear anything that Trump says, and you can read the executive order on this. Do you know the process for declassification from the president? There isn't one. Okay. It's not outlined anywhere. The dude, with the exception of nuclear material or nuclear information, which now there's congressional oversight and it's got to go through panels and this and that, he can literally say, this is declassified. And then what happens from there is all the SCGs, your security classification guides, all the way down the line, have to go in and update that stuff. Right? That's the way it happens. Now, as we've said before, somebody on his staff should have been like, maybe we need to do a memorandum for this one. I mean, that would have been smart. That's on him. But the big problem that I had with Trump and Mar-a-Lago and the documents down there is there is no, well, I haven't been able to find any clear-cut timeline on, they may have actually been declassified. Like you don't know, with innocent until proven guilty, you don't know they weren't declassified. And the fact that when you read the executive order, there is no detailed process for him. Can you really say that he didn't declassify him? I don't know you can do that. I don't think you can. With Joe Biden as the vice president, one, you didn't maintain custody, any type of chain of custody. And you put him, it's his answer to it. It was next to my Corvette. Like, dude, nobody gives a shit about your Corvette, right? I mean, that shows you right there where his priorities are, right? I love my Corvette. It was next to my Corvette. Of course it was protected. It was a locked garage because nobody breaks into locked garages or anything.
It is a nice Corvette.
It is, but it's just like, dude, and you have no declassification authority, so you shouldn't have the documents. And it's the hypocrisy of it. You sat there and you pooped on him not 3-4 months ago, knowing that you've got stuff. And then the biggest one, it's not even the one at his house. Okay, it's not even the one at his house. The other one was at his office. What, up at Penn or up at the university that China is funded for like $54 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, real quick, everybody go out, read Executive Order 12958 and Executive Order 13292. They state for declassification, each agency will establish their own process. All right. And so, declassification in the Department of Defense, it is a process. There is an established process in the Department of Defense. I guarantee you there is not in the Office of the President of the United States. So that's that. Yeah. So the first batch was found at the University of Pennsylvania in basically it was a think tank that was established as Biden was transitioning out of office when the Trump administration entered. And he took Anthony Blinken and a couple other, household names with him up there to start this think tank. Biden was paid a lot of money to not really do anything. And they have received, I think the report today said that they've received approximately 55 million in donations from China. And if you guys remember, that was in the news the end of last year, the FBI shut down their China task force, even after Ray came out and said we basically open an espionage case against China every 12 minutes. They shut down that China task force. Well, guess who lobbied them very hard to get that China task force shut down? University of Pennsylvania. So again, this has China written all over it. This has Joe Biden and Hunter Biden all over it, because Hunter Biden, one of the emails on the Hunter Biden laptop, specifically talked about establishing this think tank at UPenn before Biden was even out of office. So, but that was all. That's all Russian disinformation, according to a lot of folks on the left.
Maybe China wants Biden gone. And so they blew the whistle and said, "Hey, there's classified documents here, here, and here." Maybe that's it.
Possibly.
November 1st, they're like, "We've had enough of Biden." Time.
So what's the play then? So, because I firmly believe.
With that.
No, I'm not saying with China. I'm just saying overall. So I firmly believe that majority of the Democrats don't want Biden to run. I think right now they want Gavin Newsom. Kamala is a train wreck. So how do you get? So okay, so they find a good way to get rid of Joe. So what do you do with Kamala? Do you just say, "Hey, open primary, and whoever wins wins," or how do you get rid of her?
Yep, that's how you do it.
Yeah,
that's how you do it, and it'll be easy for them to do. She'll say she's getting screwed, but it's funny. White, straight, cis het male. Well, white, cis het male, cisgendered, heterosexual. They're going to have to do something with that. But I think so. Open primary for sure.
And I think Gavin Newsom is now their chosen one, because if anybody's been following Pete Buttigieg, anything that dude touches, it's a train wreck. Like, you don't even hear his name anymore. Like before, they're like, Mayor Pete going to be the next president. Dude, I've heard zero rumblings. You read nothing about it on Twitter. Everything that dude touches goes to poop, right?
And it's just with the FAA grounding all flights until 9 a.m. Was that Tuesday again?
Yeah.
I'm getting all the days are running together. I don't know what today
or
is,
Wednesday.
But it might have been yesterday. But that was the first time since 9/11 that all flights grounded. And hey, man, let's be honest. Is that really Buttigieg's fault? Probably not, right? Probably not. But the precedent's been set. Whoever's the secretary, it's their fault. And you know what? He takes responsibility for it. Is it directly his fault? No, but you take responsibility for it. And I think we've seen under Republican administrations that both sides do it. Both sides do it. Hey, it's their fault. The buck stops with him. I think it's hilarious. It was the Southwest Airlines thing. This guy is just not
the railroad strike. When you look at the ports of entry, and the thing is, it wasn't his fault. But I don't pretend to know what goes on in that office. But to me, well, one, there was no response from him. I mean, he was just out doing chest feeding or whatever the hell he was doing. So there's no response. But I would have to imagine if you're in that position as a cabinet member, like weekly or once a month or whatever, you have a meeting, right, of all like your department heads, airlines, this and that. Hey, where are we at on this? What's the status of this? What are our vulnerability? We used to call them, TVAs, threat vulnerability assessments, and this and that. And so you have to know, okay, hey, we've got some outdated stuff. We've got this. We've got that. Here's a potential problem or whatever. And then obviously, if something happens, okay, well then what? Where's the redundancy, right? 2 is 1, 1 is none. So if that happens, how do we keep planes in the air? I mean, you got to know that stuff. I would think you would have to have some type of quarterly, monthly, whatever it is, meeting with your heads of the various sectors of transportation, and know, hey, here are the choke points. Like, here's where we're in serious trouble. And at that point, I think it's his job, especially when it looks as easy as, and I don't pretend to know anything about NOTAM, but when you look as easily it went down, that's one of those where, okay, now you go to the president or Congress or whatever. Hey, this is an emergency, man. Like, we have to get this stuff up and running, right? So I don't say that was his fault. Now, the port stuff, dude, if he didn't see that stuff coming, we've been calling this on we've called this here for 2 years, and it's still not fixed. Same thing with the railroad strikes and all that other good stuff. And I think it's more the fact that he didn't know that was a possibility. That's where I place the blame. And he wasn't out fast enough to give any type of response. They just kind of like, hey, man, planes are grounded. Like, Okay. And then, like you said, coming on the heels of Southwest with all of those flights, but that's okay because he's going to hold them accountable. Real quick, before I kick it over to Josh, I want to go back to your thing about the clearance. So, and this is from just roll call. Unlike officials at federal agencies, lawmakers do not have security clearances per se, experts said. This is a good one here. I like this. Rather, members of Congress are by tradition deemed inherently trustworthy by dint of the offices they hold, although they are subject to punishment under the House Ethics Code for revealing classified information.
Wow.
And they take an oath of secrecy.
Oh, well, because those always work to keep you from mishandling classified information.
Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable.
So,
And I think that's probably what comes from this is hopefully some type of process, right? Like you said, with the declassification and this and that, hopefully something comes from, because it needs to happen. Forget about Trump or Biden or whatever. There should be some processes there when you talk about, classified information.
Josh, go ahead, man. But I got to bring up something. It's burning a hole in my brain.
Go ahead.
Okay, because you look preoccupied. I wasn't sure.
No, I'm ready, but go ahead.
Okay, so Roger put out. Well, I don't know if it was Roger. It was somebody put out a tweet the other day. It was pretty funny. And for those of you who remember the Chappelle Show as one of the greatest comedy sketch shows of all time, only ran 2 seasons. They had the Player Haters Ball. For those of you who remember it, it's just a group of guys who go around and they have a time machine. They go through history and they hate on people. They throw shade on historical figures. It's just funny. It sounds stupid when I'm talking about it, but Roger or somebody, it's something that Roger Wood put out on Twitter. Put out me and my boys heading to throw shade on Dan Crenshaw. It had like a gif of the Player Haters Ball. It was great. Dressed like a bunch of pimps, and this guy will not shut his mouth. He won't shut his mouth. He needs to shut up, go away, stop being defensive. The guy is unestimably, and this is for Darren. Darren loves when we throw shade on Navy SEALs, but he won't shut up. It's just he's amazing. So basically, he was the only Republican that skipped voting on new historic rules package, and he skipped the vote to to start the new church committee to investigate, Biden weaponizing the federal government. And so somebody pointed that out on Twitter, and Dan Crenshaw, in his typical little schoolgirl fashion, has to lash out. And this is what I want to talk about. I want to kick this around. Dan Crenshaw tweeted back, "I missed some boats this week on account of a funeral in San Diego for my friend and fellow Navy SEAL. Being with my brothers was simply more important. Thankful that my obsessive trolls on Twitter noticed my brief absence." Now, look, man, I'm not callous to, certain situations where, you have a loss of a loved one, loss of a really close friend, and you maybe you take some leave or something to go to that funeral. But Josh, I mean, let me ask you this, and maybe we can go around the horn. I don't want to turn it dark, but I think the three of us have been deployed a lot. You add our combined deployed time just overseas, not even talking about, real world missions or pretty important missions that we were conducting in the continental United States. We've missed some pretty important occasions, because of modern air travel, and because we do have such a great military, historically speaking. We're able to bring people out of combat theaters if there's, God forbid, a wife or a child dies. In some cases, a parent, depending on the unit, depending on where they are, an immediate family member passes away. They'll take them out of theater. But Josh, in the course of your time downrange or conducting missions, did you ever have to miss a funeral of someone you were close to?
I missed a number of funerals of people I were close to. I missed a funeral of my grandfather.
I missed all 4 of my grandparents because I was either deployed or simply unable to make it because of work.
Yeah. One set of my grandparents passed away, prior to me joining the military. But yeah, I missed my grandfather's funeral because my commander at the time didn't deem it an emergency because there was no local parentis involved. and he was quite the douchebag. But yeah, no, but dude, I've missed plenty of funerals of friends and people that I was very close to that I considered my family, simply because I was either deployed or I was on the road, and that was just the the show must go on. And for him to throw that excuse out there, it's like and I get it, and it sucks. It's hard to it's hard losing close friends, but at the end of the day, you volunteered to do a job. You put your hat in the ring. You said, I will represent you, my constituents, in the halls of Congress. And there's a sacrifice that comes with that, right? There's a burden that comes with being an elected official when you are representing your constituents, you know, at, in whatever elected position you're at, whether it be at the local level, the state or the federal level, and they are looking to you to to help right that ship and act in their interest. Um, and for him to miss those two votes, and those votes were important votes, they were very important votes. Um, and the margin isn't that big in the House. Yeah, the GOP controls it, but the margin's not that big. Especially we saw this play out last week. Like that, those votes can go, those votes can go either way. And so he's an insolent child. He's very defensive. When anybody criticizes him, I say, man, he's John McCain with an eye patch, and that's what he is. I think if Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney had a child, it's Dan Crenshaw, and like John McCain's like the granddad.
But isn't Crenshaw worse than McCain? Because McCain, I don't remember him too often. He did do it when they were talking about torture. He didn't throw his POW card out there all the time. Let me ask you this, Roger. Let me change the wording of Crenshaw's post. Okay, I'm gonna eliminate a couple of words. I missed some votes this week on account of a funeral in San Diego for my friend. Being there was simply more important. Does that change it? This is what I left out. And fellow SEAL, being with my brothers. I just said being there. Does that change things? What are we always talking about with this veteran, and SEAL? He threw that out there. He threw that out there for a reason. And it's like,
it's a crutch.
What? It's a crutch. What if it would have been a fellow, aviator or fellow seaman? No, he put in Navy SEAL. My brothers. Dude, I'm sorry. I kind of cut in there, but man, this guy is just, he's too much for me.
No, and you're absolutely right. It's the fact that if they are not in there, and we're not just talking about him, any member of Congress, when they're not there to vote, those constituents do not have a voice. Period. If you can't do the job and you don't want to sacrifice the time because I get it. We all get it. We've missed things. I totally get it. And if it's something you can work out and you can make it back and forth, but it's just how the whole thing went down, because the guy just didn't show up because he just figured nobody would notice. Okay. There's a big difference. There's a big difference on, hey, attending a funeral, such and such, I'll be out of the house. I'm assured we have the votes, yada, yada, yada. I mean, there's ways to do it. There's press releases, all that. And as I was reading the tweet, I think Loomer, right? She was the one who tweeted back and forth with him or he was responding to. And it's there's ways to put it out, but he thought he would just skate by. Nobody would notice, and then he just comes back. Hey, sorry, people, Texas, you just didn't have a vote. You didn't have a voice on these here, and he threw the SEAL thing out there because it's a crutch, because it's using the military as a crutch. Hey, this was something noble. I was going to. It was nobler than sitting here and voting for these two bills. And like Josh said, you have what is it? 6, 7, whatever the margin is. Your margin of error is not that great. You're already going to have people that aren't there anyway because they get in car accidents, delayed, yada, yada, yada. That happens. You can't just have somebody leave. And it's just his response to everything, man. And it saddens me because he gets to a point, he gets under your skin, and it's his response. And then what happens is you start looking for things that he does that pisses you off. And I don't like to be that way. I try to be objective. These things that you do are great. These things that you do suck. but everything that he says, coming out calling us terrorists, and then he tries to walk it back, right? Like, no, dude, especially you being a SEAL, right? You just called us terrorists. There are no walking that back. There is no walking that back. You know exactly what that means. I expect that from a Pelosi or a Schumer or those guys. Hey, you're a SEAL. You know the meaning of this, and you call us a terrorist, or those that support the 20 a terrorist. And then 2-3 days later he walks it back, and oh, by the way, he didn't win his votes on the what is it, the Homeland Security Committee, right? Well, because clearly you don't know the definition of terrorist. So yeah, it's probably a pretty good call. You shouldn't be on that committee. He just pisses me off. There's a bunch of them out there that are like that. I kind of want to get Josh's take so far on the House Republicans. And there's been a number of bills that have come across. Now, caveat up front, it pisses me off to see the Republicans celebrate the passing of these bills because the bills aren't passing. Okay, they're coming out of the House, but you still got to get them through the Senate, which isn't going to happen for any GOP bill. And it's got to go to Biden's desk, which he, was already heard, whispering that he'll just veto everything that comes out. Minus that, which again, I hate the parade because it's like the 87,000 IRS agents. Yeah, we defunded them. No, you actually didn't, because that's still going to go through because that was a law that was passed, right? And so your bill that passed the House is never going to clear the Senate. And is not going to go to the president's desk. And if it does, he's going to veto it. Minus the partying and celebrating of some things that are never going to happen. Josh, what's your take on the, I guess the first week now of the House-led Congress? Are they living up to your expectations, or what's your thoughts?
It's kabuki theater. That's all it is. So again, we controlled the White House and both chambers. You know how many of these bills they put through then? 0. Not one. They didn't work to, abolish the IRS, eliminate the federal income tax like they just did. Right? Obviously, the 87,000 IRS agents were that wasn't a thing. In the Trump administration, even the abortion, bill that they just passed, where almost all the Democrats voted to not provide medical care to a baby who was born, basically a botched abortion, and the baby was actually born alive. The Democrats voted not to provide medical care to that baby, which I think is absolutely heinous. So there's not been any surprises. Like, it's all kabuki theater up to this point. What I would like to see the House do is actually things they can do. I would like to see investigations and subpoenas. I would like to see Kevin McCarthy and the rest of the GOP leadership in the House come out and say, these are the things that we can do. They are congruent with the Constitution. They are congruent with the laws, and we are going to do them. That means investigations and subpoenas. It's still on the books. It hasn't been used in a while, but the Sergeant at Arms of the House has the constitutional authority to arrest people that the House subpoenas if they defy that subpoena. There are actually still jail cells, in the bottom of the Capitol building. So I am all for and fully supportive of the House using the Sergeant at Arms to go out and dog the bounty hunter people, stuff them into a trunk, and bring them back to the Capitol and put them in a cell. Like, I would love nothing more than to see that happen to somebody like Fauci. Right? So start doing that. You want to impress me? You want to impress, the base? Start doing that, because what you're doing right now is this is all show. Now, people are really going to find out if they're serious when the debt ceiling comes up, because we're approaching that. Are they going to are those 20 from the Freedom Caucus, are they going to come back out and say, nope, not happening, we're not doing it? Are they gonna try and leverage their sway? We'll see. I have a feeling Matt Gaetz will, and I have a feeling probably Boebert will. We'll see what the others do, but the GOP as a whole, they're on. They have an opportunity to kind of reclaim some of the base that they may have, pushed at least straddling the fence. Over the last couple of years of just inaction and disorganization and everything. But right now, not impressed.
Not impressed. I wasn't getting that from your text messages at all this week as I read through the novel that you and Roger, that I would get off work, I'd get back to the hotel, I'd see 83, 102 unread messages. I got to scroll up for 5 minutes and then read through Dostoevsky's masterpiece. Roger, Josh is just ranting and raving. We're recording a little late in the evening, and Josh is a bit subdued, a little bit more subdued than usual. We might have to poke the bear, Roger.
I was tired, boss.
I was tired. I find myself being apathetic about this because I tend to. It's like kabuki theater. I'm just burned out, kind of. Is everything. You try not to be conspiratorial, like we were talking about earlier, but we've seen so much over the past 2 years. I feel like I'm just this feeling of apathy. I still track the news. I'm just very apathetic about it. I'm not getting worked up, and I think that's going to change in the ramp up to 2024. I think we're in for some interesting times. We're going to get energized, and the debt ceiling thing, though, Josh, you're right. That's where the rubber's going to meet the road, and I think we've talked about the Republicans caving on the debt ceiling constantly. Never benefits them to shut down the government. But yeah, I don't know
but you have to,
that,
right?
man.
I mean, we're not talking about the bill. The bill's passed.
It's
I mean,
suicide.
do you sit there and default on the debt? I don't know that I like Josh said. I think you'll get a handful that don't pass it. But even the Democrats, you're going to have 400 and freaking 25 of them that are going to vote to do it. I mean, both sides, right? So
it depends on what you put forward. If you put forward, okay, here's the we're raising the debt limit, but we're doing it under this is the balanced budget.
Yeah,
and that's the
absolutely.
only way that's the only way you're getting this approved. This is the only way that you're getting this out of the House is it has to be a balanced budget. The Democrats aren't going to go for that. Me personally, I'm fine with it shutting down. I'm fine with the government shut down because it kind of goes back to what Luke said, when we were trying to elect a speaker. The longer the government is not doing anything, the better off the country is going to be. It's just, I mean, that was 100% truth. So, hey, when it gets to the debt limit, put the bill forward, put the funding forward, and say, hey, only if it's a balanced budget. Put the wording in there, and then, hey, man, you text me when you're ready to play ball. Shut it down. Shut it all down.
And that should be their playbook for the next 2 years. Really,
Absolutely,
1 year, because
100%.
you get into election time. The playbook should be prevent the government and Biden from doing anything else that's crazy, and investigate everything. I mean, I'm waiting. They're supposed to be releasing 16,000 hours from January 6th that was unreleased. Kevin McCarthy, I'd like to see him release everything from when Speaker Pelosi was there, because she's not subject to FOIA or subpoenas for any of that stuff. None of that stuff came out. It's like, I want full transparency on all that stuff. All of that should come out. Hold your investigations. And you know what? Televise all of it, man. Let the nation see it. Bring Fauci on there. Bring the FBI in there. That's what you do. You investigate and you prevent anything from going, off the rails any more than it already has until the next election season comes around. Because nothing else is going to get legislated. Nothing else is going to go through, at least no GOP bills. You don't really have a choice. Bigger than that, though, I want to know your take on this, Luke. So there is a rumor that the WWE is selling to the Saudis. So for those that don't know, Vince McMahon has been paying a lot of women, right? Which most of these billionaires, it would not shock me to find any of the billionaires that have had the same history that he's got, and every other billionaire that's out there. They whatever. So WWE, which he is the major shareholder, but it's a public company. They open an investigation. He resigns. He retires. Brings Stephanie McMahon, his daughter, out of hiatus to become a co-CEO with some other dude. And then I think that was like a couple months ago, right? And then now all of a sudden he's like, I'm back. Stephanie says, hey, I'm going off because, and she's going off because I think, her husband, Triple H, he had a heart attack or whatever it is from all the years of steroid use. And, I'm sure they're trying to spend family time with the kids and whatever. So now Vince McMahon is back. And the rumor is he is looking to sell the company potentially to the Saudis. And Vince McMahon will remain as the head of the company, which, I mean, he's got maybe 5 years max. I mean, the dude's old. I mean, like, how long is he really going to be there? So he's there for 2 or 3 years or whatever. Then this is going to be owned by a Saudi-owned company. So, and then the expectation is, or at least what I've been reading on the rumor mill, is that they will have twice as many shows in Saudi Arabia as they do now. So my question is, what impact is this going to have on not just the WWE, but wrestling in America? Does this open the door for an AEW? Does this open the door for another independent circuit to come in and kind of take over? And then why is he selling? I mean, you got kids, dude. Like, why aren't the kids taking the business?
Well, I don't know. It's got to be tough for him to step away, no matter how old he is, because the guy, he's bled. He's torn both of his quadriceps for this thing. He made it into something that is absolutely crazy, insane. It's got to be hard to let go, right? And maybe this is his way of holding on. And who knows what behind the scenes with his daughter Stephanie and Triple H and all that stuff. And does he have any other kids?
Yeah, I remember he's got Shane, who he wrote him off apparently after the last pay-per-view or a pay-per-view last year, and then his wife Linda, who was the small business administrator under Trump, but he was obviously cheating on her, so she's kind of. I think they're still married. They just live separate lives.
It's hard to imagine there isn't, theatrics. Him, having these family drama issues because of who he is and how he plays the WWE. It's hard to imagine he's not rolling that into his overall persona, and his brand, and always knowing when there's family problems and stuff, that's good for business. To answer your question, will it change anything? I don't know. I mean, the Saudis have been shaking stuff up lately with the Live Golf competing with the PGA. The Saudis, I mean, they're always looking to diversify, especially in the last 10, 15 years. I don't know how this plays into that, but people are not going to stop going to the shows in the U.S. simply because a Saudi company owns it. They're going to keep going. They're going to keep packing the arenas. I don't know, especially if Vince McMahon goes with them and keeps the current energy level and whatever they have. I think, Roger, we've covered this. You prefer AEW. I know that my brother-in-law prefers AEW because it's getting more back to the roots, whereas WWE is the theatrics. But man, it still packs those arenas. People love it. I don't know that much changes. I don't know if it opens the door for AEW. I mean, they're going to continue the same business practices, just a different owner, and there's, the AEW is not the PGA. The PGA still has some big time sway over that Live Golf. So I don't know if much will change. I think it's an interesting little development. It puts him back in the news. But that dude, like I said, it's got to be tough to walk away for him. I just wish we'd get back to the days of Kerry Von Erich and Jimmy Superfly Snuka going on to Hulk Hogan. I'll even go up to Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldberg after that. That's kind of checked out after that a little bit, but every once in a while I check back in and it's fun, but I'm not super into it. But I don't know, rambling about wrestling.
Well, it's the Attitude Era, right? Once the Attitude Era ended, that was kind of it for me. Because even now, like I have it recorded. I probably delete more of it than I actually watch, and some of it's just hard to watch. I let it play in the background while I'm doing something else, I'm reading or whatever. But that dude is 77 years old. So, Josh, how much longer do you think Vince McMahon has as head of WWE? And it, in all fairness, it does it does change the layout of like your champions in this. I mean, when Jinder Mahal was the WWE champion, he was the champion because the WWE had a big show coming up in India. So prior to going in there, they made him champion. He was there for 3 or 4 months, merchandise sales, this and that. So there is a culture difference. I mean, there's definitely, with Vince McMahon living here and obviously being a U.S. citizen and knowing the culture here, knows what Americans want versus, if you're controlled to an outside group. But 77 years old, this dude hangs on for another 5 years to run this company, Josh.
Yeah, I think he does. Because Vince McMahon, I think he is that guy. He's like that old Sergeant Major out of the 82nd, like who just stays forever and ever and ever because he knows when he retires, like he's going to be dead on his front porch 6 months after that. Vince McMahon's kind of the same way because this is his. I mean, this is his life. This is what gets him out of bed every morning, and he's that guy. If he wakes up one morning and he doesn't have a purpose, he doesn't have anything to do, even with grandkids and all that stuff, like he's not going to last very long. um I think I think he's just wired that way. He's gonna hang on to the bitter end, especially you had all the the allegations here recently, um with him and everything. But like you guys, I might, if I'm flipping through channels and it's on, like I might watch it for a couple of minutes, but by and large, I don't watch it anymore. Because like you said, after the Attitude Era, it was just, it was just not good. It was predictable. Um, it wasn't just, it didn't have that. I don't know, man. It just didn't have the same pull that it did, back in the day. Luke throwing up some old names. The Von Erichs, man, I haven't heard him. Man, I haven't heard that name in a long time. But you know, and you see some of them are still trying to, some are still trying to hang on. I saw Ric Flair do he was doing something, a commercial or something the other
Dude,
day.
he did a match like 4 months ago.
Yeah, and you're like, man, there's nothing. Well, there are a few things. There are a few things worse than seeing, those athletes and those superstars that you grew up with, and pick your sport, right? See them hold on too long, and they come out, they're not as fast as they used to be, they're not as fit as they used to be, all the that all that muscle and stuff, it's all sagging. They look like a bloodhound in a shower cap. Like it's sad, man. It's sad. And seeing Ric Flair trying to still wrestle at his age, you're like, come on, man.
It's so,
like, just stop.
Ric Flair showed up to a Texas Tech football game, and we happened to be there, and it was the UT game. And, he was doing his woo and getting the crowd hyped. It's a big deal because Ric Flair was there. And, dude, this is a college football stadium. These are kids. A lot of them are kids and people my age, and that stadium got hyped. Ric Flair, when they put him up on the screen, God, woo,
Yeah.
and the whole stadium got jazzed, man. It was cool. And it's like, how on earth? How old is he again? He's
in his late 70s.
Okay, he's in his late 70s, and he appeals to that demographic. It's amazing that he stayed. He's had that staying power. Now he's not a superstar, but everybody knows who he is. I'm sure there were a lot of people in the stands that were like, "Wait, who? Ric Flair? What?" But it got loud in there when he's doing his woo, and the stadium's doing woo back to him. It was crazy, man. It's amazing. But okay, Roger, I know you got more to say on wrestling, but I want to get Josh going, okay, on something else. So I think it's safe to say that on Monday night, this past Monday night, the Texas Christian University had a bad night.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, and I will say this, I put a pin in that because I want your opinion, and kick it to Josh. I think they had a bad night. I do not think they're better than Georgia. I think they play Georgia 10 times. Georgia might beat them 10 times, but I think they give them a better game, like Ohio State gave them a good game. It was Ohio State, right? I get Ohio State and Michigan mixed up. But who did Georgia play before? Shit, it was Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, TCU beat Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah. So Ohio State gave them a strong game, right? And who lost to Michigan earlier? Or it was Ohio State. And they gave Georgia a good game. So it's like TCU beat Michigan that night. So I'm kind of coming around to Josh's line of thinking a little bit. Come on. You got to give him something. TCU had a bad night.
Dude, you couldn't even bet. You could not even bet on the TCU Georgia game because the odds were so like. I literally tried to go to my KD. I'm just going to throw money on Georgia because you're going to. You could not even bet on the game as far as just the winner because the odds were like 45,000 to 1 that Georgia's going to win. I mean, it was that bad.
So yeah, right. Okay, so again, then why did Ohio State give Georgia a week earlier? Give them such a hassle? You know, I just say it could have been closer. It could have. Georgia's good and they're better than TCU, but they're not 65-7 better, like on a consistent basis. 65-7?
I don't know. I mean, I guess this is a Josh question. He follows it closer than I do. When I look at Michigan's played strong ball all year. I think they only had, outside of the game they lost to TCU, they had one bad game. But when you look at Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State, it seems to me that they are just in a different league and at a different level than what TCU is in. I don't know, Josh, if you agree or disagree with that, or maybe it's just the schedule they play, where you look
TCU
more dominant than you are.
Yeah.
No, 100%. The Georgia TCU game, it proved my point that the college ranking system is bullshit. The entire ranking system is bullshit. TCU should have never been in the national title game.
Then how come they beat Michigan?
Dude, it was a fluke. It was Michigan had a bad night. Because go back and look at who TCU played this year. They played, let's see, they played Colorado. They played TAR, some Texas school. I don't even know who that is.
Tarleton. It's a high school.
Yeah. SMU. They played OU, KU, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was ranked number 8 at the time.
Well, they had 4 ranked games in a row. Oklahoma was 18, Kansas was 19, Oklahoma State was 8,
yeah.
Kansas State was 17.
Right, and so they played K-State. Then they played West Virginia, Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, Illinois, and then K-State.
Illinois.
Iowa State.
Or Iowa State.
ISU.
Yeah. And then they played
so what you're saying is that's a weak schedule.
It's a very weak schedule. And
so I would, we could argue this all night. Ole Miss. Who did Ole Miss play this year? Did they play a stronger schedule than TCU?
I don't know I don't know what Ole Miss's schedule is. I'd have to go back and look at it.
They play in the SEC, which is a stronger conference than the Big 12, right? They ended up in a bowl game. And you know who beat Ole Miss, who had that strong schedule? It's the only Big 12 team to win. Well, I guess technically TCU did win a bowl game, but they didn't win the final. The only Big 12 team other than TCU to win is to your point. And this is why I'm kind of agreeing with you here, Josh. Jesse's laughing. Jesse's out there laughing if he's listened to this, because I think we're kind of saying the same thing. I'm coming along to your line of thought on this, is that Texas Tech wasn't one of the 2 Big 12 teams to win, and they beat Ole Miss, who had a tougher schedule than TCU. So it's like, is the playoff the way to go?
I think the playoff is the way to go, but the playoff needs to be 16 teams.
Agreed.
The way it's set up now is complete bullshit. The ranking, the way they rank teams during the regular season is complete bullshit. Right? We watch teams lose. We watch teams lose during the season and actually move up in the rankings on the Monday after they lost the game. And you're like, what is this? What is going on? Here's Georgia's schedule next year, and it's a complete bullshit schedule. They play UTM, then they play Ball State, South Carolina, UAB, Auburn, University of Kansas, Vanderbilt, Florida, Mizzou, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech.
Oh,
That's Georgia's schedules next year. So you're going to see Georgia back in the championship game, barring unless they have like 17 injuries, on their to their starters, they're gonna win again next year. It's such BS, and it's almost expand the playoffs to 16 teams. Like that's what it needs to be. Expand it to 16 teams and be done with it. Because the way it's set up now it's stupid.
Yeah. Roger?
And they'd make a lot more money doing that, right?
A lot more.
I mean, hey, we could throw in some more bowl games in there that we've never heard of.
Because all of a sudden the Cheez-It Bowl is actually important.
God, get rid of all these stupid ass bowls too. Go back to like the 5 bowls that we used to have. That's it. And then do the playoffs. There you go.
The Rose Bowl would actually mean something again.
Yes.
Because, in the Cheez-It Bowl, you'd have 8 solid bowls. Well, actually, yeah, you'd have 8 solid bowls. Right now, there's only 4 bowls that even mean anything? 3. There's 3 bowls that actually mean something to everyone.
I mean, why not do it like the NFL? They've cracked the nut on this thing, right? You can't compare college football to college basketball. Obviously, the physicality of the game, you can't play as many games as that. But the NFL has cracked the nut on the playoffs. I mean, they know how to do it. They know how to run it. You got your wild cards. So, I mean, why not do something similar to that where you break them down to regions or by conference or whatever to where you have that 16-team playoff, you have a couple wild cards, and you play your national championship game at the end, right? I mean, the NFL, it's been successful for them. They're making billions of dollars. I mean, so is college football. But
yeah, but even Georgia,
they need to do something.
Well, Georgia powerhouse, right? This year. No doubt. So that's where it's not broken is the number 1 ranking, I guess. They were right on with that. But like you said, the weak schedule next year. But it's like Georgia in a 16-team playoff, they would play number 16, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, if let's say they were number 1 seed, yeah, they're probably going to wind up and play number 16.
This year they would have run the table. They would have run the table this year.
Yeah,
with a quarterback name like Stetson Bennett. Come on, that name's not even fair. Stetson Bennett.
They gave him 10 points just for the name.
Bennett.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
the name.
That's a better name than Flash Gordon. Who's your quarterback? Flash Gordon. You can take Flash Gordon or Stetson Bennett. Who do you want? Yeah, I'll take that Stetson kid.
Yeah, it needs to be. Georgia may have run the table this year, or you know what? Georgia may have went in and played Michigan and something and had a bad night because it happens.
That's what everybody wanted to see, though. Everybody wanted to see Michigan, Georgia, right? I mean, I don't even, I mean, after my beloved Tar Heels lost like 5 in a row and then lost to Oregon, in their bowl game, I didn't care anymore. But even me, I was like, I want to see the Michigan-Georgia game, which I think Georgia would have won anyway, but that's the game I wanted to see.
I think what the people who put this thing together, I think what they really wanted to see, I think TCU was a token, right? That was the token 4th pick because TCU had just lost to Kansas State, who also lost in their bowl game. So I think a good portion of America for ratings would have loved to have seen Michigan, Ohio State. And would have loved to see Ohio State win that one. And then there would have been the drama about, well, Michigan beat Ohio State early in it, so who's the real national champion? It would have been, the ratings would have been off the freaking chart for Michigan, Ohio State, because that would have been the rematch,
Oh, and the Big Ten would have loved that, right? I mean, they would have loved it. Their TV rights would have gone, through the roof.
And I was glad to see Ohio State lose because when Ohio State loses, America wins.
Why do you hate Ohio State so much?
God, they're consistently overrated, and the state of Ohio is basically nothing but meth. And people who went to and graduated from Ohio State are some of the most narcissistic, just douche canoe people that I've ever met in my life.
But the basketball GOAT is from Ohio, Roger. The basketball GOAT, the king, LeBron James.
Whatever, dude.
I rest my case.
Whatever, dude.
I didn't know LeBron was an Ohio State grad. I rest my case.
Right. So I know he's not. He's just from Ohio. So he didn't go to college, remember? Well, he graduated, but he went straight to the NBA. So Roger, more sports ball talks. So all these records that now that LeBron has been around for a while, he's starting to break. You know, looks like he's on track to break the scoring record. So is this going to be a debate we're going to have to listen to for time immemorial? Who's the GOAT? You know, and Kobe now unfortunately doesn't even enter that conversation. Now it's all MJ or LeBron. Like, are we going to have to list this? Because he'll probably break the scoring title, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's longevity, right? To begin with, if you call yourself the GOAT, well, you're not the GOAT. That's just the way it is. But I think when you look, we're going to have it because the game has changed so much. Just when you look at the last 20 years of the NBA style of play, and we've talked about this before, where everything has gone pure offense. Like there are no defensive players in the NBA anymore. I mean, that's just a fact. It doesn't happen. The years of the bad boys, the Detroit Pistons and Joe Dumars, and even back in the Rodman years and the Bill Laimbeer, you go to the Celtics with Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. You know, there were rumors that like Parrish used to shave his elbow joints down so he could cut people when he was hitting them. Right? I mean, it's all urban legend crap, but that's how brutal the league was. And when I go back, I make my son. Because he's 20 and he's in the LeBron era. I make him watch some of the Jordan highlights, because they pop up on YouTube every now and then. It's like, dude, you just sit down and watch a 10-minute, just pure athletic ability, right? And I've always said, I mean, LeBron James is a freak of nature. That dude should have been a tight end in the NFL and he'd kill everybody. But when you look at just athletic ability, when you look at like the highlight reel, just a 10-minute comparison with Jordan and LeBron, dude, you can't even compare that. It's insane. Jordan's highlight reel is insane. LeBron's got some good plays and this, that, but I think what else goes along with that? One, the amount of championships, your record in the finals, and then it's just the overall attitude. I mean, Jordan really didn't get involved in social issues. LeBron is always on the wrong side of social issues. There's always this woe is me, the world, is against me. And when you look at the players that Jordan won with nobodies. Okay. I know people say, Chuck, if he was listening, man, Scottie Pippen, he's second greatest player in the history of NBA. No, nobody, the little boy from Arkansas who ended up being a great NBA player, he was great because you were playing with the GOAT. That's why you were so good. Okay. It's no different than when Antonio Brown and Schuster Smith was playing, when AB is taking all the attention, yeah, you're going to be a good second option wide receiver if you can make catches. And when you look at the teams that Jordan won with, he won with nobodies. John Paxson, Bill Cartwright, Luke Longley. I mean, come on, really? BJ Armstrong. Seriously? You had Scottie Pippen, again, probably one of the top 50 greatest. When you look at LeBron James had to bring other Hall of Famers in with him. Look at what he did in Miami. Look at what he did in Cleveland. Look at what he's doing in LA. And they're still not winning in LA. You got, what's his face? AD and Russ. I mean, you're not winning with, you got two other Hall of Famers there. And you can't win. So I think it takes away, it's not only just the play, but you look at his overall leadership. You look at his stance on social issues. He's not an educated dude. First of all, he's just not up to date on issues, which is fine. Just don't come out and, speak your mind if you're not educated about the topic. And he's just lazy. I mean, the guy, there is no reason when you look across the board, and this is what people forget. Jordan was also Defensive Player of the Year. He said he couldn't shoot threes, and then he, at the time, tied the all-time record for threes in an NBA final. He played both sides of the ball. LeBron has the athletic ability to probably have been greater, but he's lazy. He's a guy who plays for the highlights, right? I just need to make the ESPN top 10 and that's it. Whether we win or lose, it's not a big deal. But and your answer to your question, yeah, we're going to be having this forever. And it's but even the game now is changing again, because when you look at Luka Doncic and Giannis, I can't even pronounce his last name, the Greek freak. It's funny. I was talking to my son about it. I said, those big guys coming out that shoot the ball like that, the league is morphing that way. And what will bring the league back is another Shaquille O'Neal. Right? You can have those big guys go out on the wing because right now you don't have a dominant big man playing in the NBA. You don't have that Alonzo Mourning. You don't have that Patrick Ewing. You don't have that Shaquille O'Neal where, hey, I don't care how good of a three-point shooter you are. your percentage will never be greater than Shaq dunking the basketball, or sitting there 6 inches from the rim. So it'll be interesting because I think you're starting to see the big men go out, which was supposed to be the Christian Laettner era, right? Where Christian Laettner was the big man who could shoot threes, could dribble, this and that. Shaq enters the league the same time, and it's like, wow, your 38% from the free throw line and above is nothing compared to Shaq's 65% shooting in front of the rim or dunking the basketball. So, it's kind of interesting because we're seeing the game change again, to the big guys going outside. And hey, man, I'm waiting for another big guy like Shaq to come, take it over. It was supposed to be Greg Odom, another Ohio State guy that Josh loves, that, broke his foot, made like $100 million. I think he played like 3 games. But it'll be interesting to see the shift again once that dominant big guy comes in and making your big guys start to play him down low, because the guys right now can't do that.
Do you think LeBron's got another 9 years in him?
Hell no. But you know what? They'll try to drag him out because it's TV, right? It's ratings.
Yeah.
To have him play on the same team with his son, that they would love that. And I think the Lakers have already negotiated something with him, and there's not a lot of details coming out, but basically giving him the option to stay if the Lakers draft him. And his son could be a complete turd and a complete flop in the way the NBA is right now. They would draft him anyway just to get the ratings, just to get the revenue, just to put the butts in the seats, sell the tickets. And then when LeBron retires, they'll cut him and throw him back to the G League, and he'll be making Gatorade commercials.
Yeah. No, I was curious because looking at this, Jordan has 10 scoring titles. LeBron has 1. So for him to catch Jordan in that department, he's going to need to stick around a little while. Jordan has six championships. LeBron has 4. Jordan 6 final MVPs. LeBron has 4. And then Jordan has 5, overall MVPs, and LeBron has 4. Obviously, I am definitely not into the to the NBA as much as you are, but I used to watch it, back in the day when I was a kid, because I enjoyed watching, guys like Jordan and Larry Bird. And
who was your team?
I didn't really have a team that I followed NBA. It was just whoever was on. It was really players. I love watching Larry Bird. I love watching Jordan. Like you said, Ewing and everybody. But yeah, man, I never got into it enough to really have a team per se. But
interesting.
Yeah, I do. Jordan, it's the we've talked about the whole Barry Bonds thing before on here too. It's Jordan is by far the GOAT, way above LeBron will ever be, just on class alone. And I think that you got to factor that into when you start talking about these guys, because LeBron's a nug. Like I say, he's on the wrong side of basically everything.
He's the Dan Crenshaw of the NBA.
Well, and you got to look at this way too. They only look at the NBA career. You got to look at Jordan also won an NCAA championship, and he also won 2 gold medals.
Oh yeah, that's true. You got from the dream teams. Man, that original dream team was insane.
Yeah,
it was one of the best things to watch ever. Was that 1992 dream team? I mean, I think I've talked about it on the show. There was one part that literally, and when I say that I mean it, brought tears to my eyes when Magic Johnson gave a no-look pass to Larry Bird over the back. Larry Bird pulls up for a 3-pointer in an Olympic game. I was like, it really meant a lot to me, because they were mortal enemies on the court, and that was the only chance we'd ever get to see anything quite like that. Not even in the All-Star game, because they have it's East-West. So that was great.
And
so
who
Josh,
wasn't on the dream team? Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah,
who wasn't on the dream team? Isaiah Thomas.
That's right. And hey, Roger, quick question: have you made your son watch Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary?
You know what? He caught bits and pieces of it with us, but he hasn't sat down and watched the whole thing in one sitting.
It's so good. It's so good.
You made him watch Miracle on Ice?
Oh.
No.
Communist. You're raising a communist.
Jesus.
So I did. I want to lighten it up a little bit, kind of wind it down a little bit, kind of chill it out. So I I've been putting this off for a very long time, and I finally watched the other night John Wick, the first one, because people are telling me I should watch it. Have you guys seen it?
I
Any
have
of the
I've
not
seen
brothers?
watched any of
I've
them.
seen the first one, but I
Okay,
haven't seen any of the others.
so I watched the first one and I was very pleasantly surprised. And, it's because I had low expectations. I was like, whatever. John Wick, shoot him up. And I thought put it to you this way, I thought it was very entertaining. So I went to a couple buddies of mine, Diego and Jesse, shout out. And I was like, I really enjoyed it because they were, or I think it was Jesse. Diego doesn't watch movies. He's too white to watch movies. Um, He's the whitest dude with the name Diego I've ever met in my life. Maybe we'll expand on that someday, have him on the show. But Jesse, he told me to watch it. He's like, you'll be entertained, and he was right. And I was like, so how is 2 and 3? And he said, so Josh, I think you should maybe watch 2 and 3, but your expectations need to be this: expect to be entertained. That's it, because the stuff. It's a total guy thing. Like I told my wife, I was like, I think she would actually enjoy the first one, like we enjoyed the movie Extraction and
Yeah.
that movie about the assassins with Captain America and the other guy. I can't remember. It was on Netflix. Can't remember the name of it. It's just a shoot 'em up guy film with a little bit of story. They took they took what was successful in the first John Wick, and they thought, what are the most creative ways to kill a person other than a gun? And I won't ruin it for you, but I don't think your wife will enjoy John Wick 2 and definitely not John Wick 3, but it's entertaining. And it's like
Oh.
I sat back and I thought, this is so freaking violent. Like it is violent, and we're sitting here laughing at it. It totally fetishizes guns. It's just like, what the hell? When is the anti-gun lobby going to get on John Wick? That's my question.
The first one I thought was good, and I'm a Keanu Reeves fan. I think he's a great actor. He's a great person for everything that I've read. Like he's a good dude, and I saw some YouTube videos. He did almost all the stunts himself, all the shooting, everything, because they had video of him going through these ranges that they had set up for him. And dude, he's out there running the
He's
tables.
legit, man.
And he's doing a great job at it. It was kind of fun to see that. But yeah, I thought John Wick 1, I thought it was good. It's one of those, like, if it was on, I'd watch it again. Right. It's like, oh yeah, man, I'll watch this again. It was good. Yeah, I can't say that for a lot of movies. I thought it was going to be a little bit I thought it was going to be kind of, Punisher type when, I first saw the preview for it, and it was just like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it because it's Keanu Reeves. And after I got done, I was like, that was pretty good. I did enjoy it. I'll check I'll check 2 out to see what's up with
Roger,
it.
yeah, if you like 2 and then 3 picks up right where 2 left off, because you'll see the end of 2 and you're like, oh Lord, what's going to happen now? And then surely they're going to have to take a break, and like suss out a little bit something, because there's no way John Wick, the ultimate badass, can get out of this. And bro, no, they pick up literally like 20 minutes after the end of number 2, and you're like,
I love it.
Good Lord. And it's just constant. So I think 2 and 3 are a little bit much. But Roger, you should check out 1. So
it's on my list. It's just I haven't.
You should.
I want to watch them all because I've heard good things. But here's the other thing, and by now, or by the time this release, it will already be out. Have you guys heard of The Devil Conspiracy, the horror movie that's coming out tomorrow? Tomorrow being the 13th.
No, what's that?
So from what I gathered, and I haven't read the whole thing, I just caught snippets of it. I just heard it. So supposedly some biotech firm takes blood from the Shroud of Jesus, clones him, and it becomes a host for the devil.
Ooh.
Interesting take.
Interesting take.
That could be that could be good. That could be a good movie.
Yeah,
And horror movies never follow through. It
They
seems.
they suck nowadays.
they used to, not anymore. They used to, not anymore. Have you guys seen All Quiet on the Western Front yet?
No.
It's on my. It's in my queue.
Man, I watched it. In fact, it was crazy because my oldest daughter wanted to watch it. I was like, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, I kind of want to watch it. I was like, all right, man. We sat down and watched it. Dude, brutal.
Is it
Absolutely
a
brutal. It was
movie or a series or what is it?
no, it's a movie. It's a long. It's like 2.5 hours, maybe
Is it foreign
two
language?
45. No, no,
Okay.
it's all English. I kind of wish they would have done it all in German and French with just subtitles, but uh, it's they roll with it in English, but it's really good, man. And it's one of the few. There's not a lot of World War I movies out there to begin with, um, but this one's really good. I really liked it. It's not as good as well. It's different. It's not supposed to be a documentary like Peter Jackson's "They Shall Not Grow Old," which I thought was phenomenal. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Man, you guys didn't watch that one? Holy
Which one? Wait,
moly!
what was it again?
It's "They Shall Not Grow Old."
Oh,
Peter,
yes, I did see that. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
that one was fantastic. You didn't see that, Roger?
No, no.
Yeah, Peter Jackson did it. You should check it out. It's really, really good.
So
Uh,
Roger keeps his body pure, and I promise Josh that pure as it can be, anyway. And I promise Josh we talk about this tonight a little bit. I'm sure everyone listens to Joe Rogan right after they listen to the newest episode of Culper's Canteen Cup. They switch over to Joe Rogan. They listen to him, see what he's got to say, and he's always promoting the on it alpha brain, right? So I was like, you know what? And I actually talked to some folks who had taken it, and they attested to it that it did something to them. So it's like, all right, well, I want to get high too. So let me try this alpha brain. And what it's supposed to do is what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to be a proprietary blend that's supposed to be like a weak kind of Adderall type thing, where it's going to give you some focus, it's going to give your brain, kind of a boost. And I was like, I'll try anything
Did you buy
once.
some Prevagen AG? Is that what you bought?
Prevagen. I brought
You
some
got, you got some
Metamucil.
Prevagen with the
I washed it down with
jellyfish.
Prevagen. But I was like, you know what? I'll try anything once. I've gone through a lot of supplements in my life, and I've seen what works and what doesn't. And there is something to be said for the placebo effect. So I try to be as objective as I can when I take these things. So, it's supposed to give you a memory boost, and it's supposed to activate your brain. And the people, the personal uh, attestations I got were, yeah, I do feel more focused. Like when I sit down in front of the computer and type, it's like, boom, you're there. It's like, okay, whatever, we'll see. So, Josh, you were talking about looking into Alpha Brain. My brother-in-law was too. I sure wish my brother-in-law listened regularly. That way he could hear what I have to say about Alpha Brain, because he's thinking about taking it. So, Josh, you were talking about taking it. So let me ask you, and I give you what I've experienced so far. I've been taking it this week. Why would you want to take it? Like, what would be your desired effect from
um, to focus, really. Uh, you know, because I've got my brain's like it's like my computer that has 27 open tabs, and a lot of times I find it hard to focus on one thing for like 45 minutes to an hour. And so that would be my main reason to take it, would be I got a task that I need to get done, and I don't need to stop, take a break. I need to grind through this, and I need to be focused and minimize those external distractors.
Roger, would you take something like that? If so, why? And if not, okay.
So it's actually funny. And maybe it's just because I don't see the lack of ability to focus to be a negative. I actually see it as a positive because I get a lot of random stuff done. And it's, it's kind of like when I read on my iPad, man. You start here, and God knows, I'll start like the omnibus bill, and the next thing I'm looking at wind farms in like Thailand or something like that, right? And I mean, yeah, you can say it's not go focus or whatever, but I actually kind of enjoy that. I mean, it's pretty funny because my wife, when I think she was once looking at all the tabs I had open, as Josh talks about, 40 different tabs, and you can actually, I need to post it one day. You can see my trail of tabs, and especially those that are like INTPs. You can actually see how I jump, my logic, and how I think, how I go from topic to topic. Because, dude, I'll sit there, like when I close my tabs, I'll have like 57 tabs open on my iPad, and I just start, because I read, I kind of get the gist. I'm like, ooh, what about this? So I click that. Ooh, what about this? And the next thing you know, so I would take it if I thought I needed it. I don't really need to operate that way for work, and my kids are grown. I don't need to focus on anything anymore. But I do kind of appreciate the journey of just like, whatever I kind of feel like doing, man. That's just what I do.
So real quick, kind of a side thing. I think we maybe have talked about because I have the same thing, but with Wikipedia. Uh, going down the Wikipedia rabbit hole, it's really quite fascinating how my mind works, because I should say this in public. It always seems like when I go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole, I'll go to some weird topics. Click, right click, open new tab, right? And then same thing. I'll go back to the original tab. Is like, how did I get to Ted Bundy from looking up, like wind power, generators within a windmill? But it seems like, I mean, I got a weird mind, because I'll go from looking up, what is alkaline water, on Wikipedia, alkaline water, and then I'll end up on one of two things: either something to do with nuclear power or nuclear bombs or serial killers. It's inevitable. It's like, what is the sickness in my mind? So Josh, I've taken it this week because I was like, I want to see. Sometimes I got to think about multiple things, multitask, and slip foreign languages in there. So it's like I need my mind to be like working on all cylinders. That's why I took it. Right. When I first took it, I took it, and 10 minutes later, my mind was, I don't know if it was my mind, or I don't know if there's a placebo effect. I'm just telling you what I experienced. I was switched on, put it to you that way. And I was so giddy about it that I went to Diego and Jesse, and I was like, bro, get high with me. And I said, try this. What is it? Alpha Brain. Oh, I've heard about that on Joe Rogan. Yeah, take a couple. And neither one of them felt anything. They said they didn't, but I felt like I did. So take that for what you will. But what I've seen, Josh, and what I need to do is take it, because I've taken it 4 times now, and I kind of get the same feeling every time. It's like my mind is firing on all cylinders, and I go into ultra Roger mode. What you were saying, Roger. It's like boom, 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 boom. I can multitask, but I feel like it would be better served if I had to write, like, I don't know, some kind of essay or a paper or report that I was going to have to sit down, and it's going to take me 4 hours to do this. I have to build this Excel spreadsheet. I think I should take it and do that, and like see if it's like ultra focus. You know what I'm saying?
We should take it and write a book.
We should.
I was just about to say, yeah.
We should take it and do a podcast. I'm not feeling it, bro. You got to give it time, like in the DiCaprio movie, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling it.
The Quaaludes.
Let's take another one.
Yeah, it wound up. Yeah,
and then the audience is like, "Are we listening to this on 1.5 speed?"
Yeah.
So what are you on now as far as supplements? You're on Alpha Brain. I don't want to get too personal, but I mean, just over the counter supplements.
OTC. Yeah, let's not get into. No, I'm joking. I'll tell you everything I'm on, actually. So stay tuned. This is good. So I'm trying. When you travel, it's tough. And you forget to pack up the pills you're supposed to take. But it's really pretty simple. I'm on I'm taking the what's it called? The omega 3s. Mm-hmm. You got to take that with a meal. And when you're traveling, it's like, when are you going to eat a meal? So when I'm religious with the omega 3s, I take DHEA, those 2 things with a pill, and there's a hormone balancer, and I cannot remember. It's like ELM or something like that. I read about it. I've kind of noticed a difference with sleep and digestion, things like that. So I'm taking those 3 things. I'm not taking Alpha Brain regularly. But as far as not over the counter, currently, HIPAA be damned. Every day I take a thyroid. Every morning on an empty stomach, I take a thyroid thing, and it's a desiccated thyroid, and it regulates what do you call it?
So you don't
Shoot,
get fatter.
Yeah, basically, it regulates what's the thing with digestion?
Metabolism.
It's metabolism. There it is. It gets your metabolism on track.
Should give Josh some of that.
I feel good with it. It's
Need it.
I feel good. It's relatively cheap, and of course, I'm doing the testosterone replacement therapy, which is a very low dosage of testosterone, and it feels good, man. It feels good. It doesn't feel great, but it feels good. I get better sleep. That's the biggest thing. I get better sleep. The problem is when I get into the gym, I start thinking I can do more than I can, and my whole body's starting to break down. And I think that's not because of what I'm taking. That's because my mind's thinking you're going to get back to where you were. No, bro, you're taking this to actually not, get injured. So yeah, it feels good. It's, I would attest to it. My blood work is good. I feel okay. Yeah, so feel good. But that's it, man. I try to drink water, but this kind of gets in the way for those of you on YouTube.
That looks like a shotgun can. It's a big boy, huh?
Yeah, man, that's a roadie.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Are y'all familiar with the roadie concept?
No.
Well,
It's
it depends.
a Texas thing. So they sell these cans of water right here at gas stations everywhere in Texas. And I didn't know the roadie concept until by a family member who does not listen introduced me to the roadie concept. We stopped at a convenience store. We go in, and I'm like, what are we stopping for? He's taking me home. He's like, got to get a roadie. And he got one of these 24-ounce waters here that I'm showing you on the screen and drank it, the whole thing on the way taking me home. And he got me one too. And I'm like, what are we doing? We're drinking in the car. What's up? This was 12 years ago. And yeah, that's a Texas thing. Every convenience store, they have these 24 ounces. And it's funny. It's a real thing because you go in at like 5, you go in at 10 in the morning. The coolers are stocked with these 24 ounces. You go in at 6 in the evening, they're all gone. People are stopping on their way home, picking up a roadie or two and finishing it on the way home.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, man.
Good
Texas
Lord.
is wild, bro.
Wildin'.
So what about you,
They don't
Josh?
do
What
that
are you
down
on?
south?
Supplement-wise. You taking anything or what?
Nope.
Just au naturel, huh?
Just au natural. So I looked at so I am getting ready to start probably taking, because my last check, my magnesium was a little low. So I'll probably take some magnesium. I've kind of kicked around the idea of taking some fish oil, to help my old joints out. I have looked into, and I'm still kind of, kicking it around, the TRT, that Luke's doing. Been reading up on it a little bit. I may do. I'm leaning toward doing that. Yeah, I was reading some other stuff. I mean, and in every decade, you're losing, I guess, like around 7%, of your muscle. And it's not to to try and get John Cena big or anything like that, man. It's just to maintain what I have, and I want to be able to wipe my own ass when I'm 80, if I get to live that long. And so, but other than
That's
that,
the
right
hard
now,
part.
I'm not taking
I
anything.
don't think you have that mentality, but that's the mentality I'm describing. That's the hard part, is remembering you do have this mentality, is what I'm saying, is remembering that I am working out today. I'm doing this. I'm taking these supplements. Roger's going to tell us what he's doing next. But I'm taking this not for how I'm going to feel a month from now, how I'm going to look at the pool. I'm taking this for how I'm going to feel 20, 25 years from now. And that's when I go into the gym, I need to be thinking that, not how much weight can I throw up tonight? Because it's the opposite of why we guys our age should be going to the gym.
Yeah, especially we're all obviously we're all over 40, and the days of, hey, I'm gonna go put up 225, and I'm gonna go and sling a lot of weight around. I mean, those days don't have to be gone, but I think by and large those days are gone. Now it's a little bit lighter weight and just more reps. Um, and then I've talked about it a lot, man. Yoga, uh, a lot of just stretching and taking care, trying to do low impact things. Unlike Roger's sprint workout, that is not low impact, but trying to at least make those other things low impact, because we're no spring chickens for sure. So Roger, what you got, man? What you got science experiment wise sitting on your counter?
So everything is OTC. Take resveratrol, pretty much the stuff that you find in grapes and berries and stuff like that. Take my algae oil, which I've been on for years. Same thing with the omega-3, except it comes from algae versus the fish. Whole food vitamin, do take DHEA. And then the one that I've added, I guess it's about a month now, is the N-acetyl cysteine, the NAC, NAC. I think I kind of like it, dude. It's I'm kind of like Luke, where you worry about the placebo effect, right? You take it and it's like, it's psychosomatic. Oh man, I'm gonna feel jacked. So you feel jacked. And what I do is I buy my 30 or 60 days. And what I can really tell is, because I take vitamins every day. So to move beyond the placebo effect, I go to, is it working? I'll know if it's working if I continue taking it. Because if I don't notice a difference, I'll just stop taking it. With this here, I've been on it about a month now, and it's again, hey man, don't take medical advice from me, because I do not treat my body like the temple it needs to be. But so go out there and definitely talk to your docs and this and that, because there are some side effects to some of these things, and it does. We talked about it, I think, on the previous episode with TRT, and Luke was bringing up, is, hey, it may or may not be for everybody. You got to talk to your doc. So we just obviously tell you to go do that. But looking at my blood work and everything else, but it's a holistic piece, because it's not just taking these supplements, but it's also the working out piece. And what I've noticed a lot, and Luke brings it up, it's like I sleep better. When I go work out and I take my vitamins, I eat right. When it's 10:30 at night, I'm yawning. I'm ready to go to bed. Like, I am tired. I'm ready to go to sleep, and I sleep well, and I wake up in the morning and I rock and roll. When I'm not working out, if I have a little too much booze and I'm not doing the right things, I stay up late. I don't sleep well. I toss and turn. I get up. I still have to work in the morning, and then my whole day is just shot. So now I've ruined that night, and I've ruined, the next day. So you definitely have to take a holistic approach to it, I think, and just realize that, hey, it's just not the supplements. You don't take the supplement. Oh yeah, man, I feel good. Well, no, there's a whole thing to it. It's how you're eating. It's your supplements. It's if you are you working out or whatever. And then, like Josh mentioned, the whole point is, yeah, hey, I'm married. I got kids. I'm not picking up any chicks in the gym. It is being able to not only wipe my ass when I'm 80, but to be able to get my ass off the toilet when I get done when I'm 80. So that's kind of what's on my table now. I will leave it to this before I throw it over to Luke. And it's funny, you do it in the group chat here. So, one of the people I look up to is, Vice President Harris, because of her words of wisdom. And she never fails to take advantage of an educational moment where she can teach, right? Because as teachers and as leaders, that's what you do. You want to teach. You want to teach the youth. So from her today, she was talking about a council, and she started several councils, and she's been on many councils. And this was the C something. It was the Caribbean Council. It is the Caribbean nations, island nations in the Western Hemisphere. That is where the Caribbean is. We are also in the Western Hemisphere. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot make this stuff up.
She's about to be President Harris.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Vice President. Josh, you got any shout outs before we close it out?
I love it. Yeah, man, I got dude. I got a lot of shout outs, and I always feel bad because I always, I miss somebody. So I'll give a couple. Jason in Louisiana, Don and Linda in Atlanta. Shout out to my dad who's laying on the couch recovering from multiple surgeries. He's always checking us out. He's always asking me, how you guys are doing. um and There's a lot of others. Travis out in Arizona, really appreciate you listening. um Justin up in Northern Virginia, John, Northern Virginia, the Ryans in Northern Virginia, and of course Josie down in Florida. Appreciate you listening. Big game. Thank you as well. And there, yeah, again, man, there's so many more out there. So we definitely appreciate you guys entertaining us for a little while.
Roger doesn't care about anybody, or do you?
No, I think everybody. It's actually surprising that we have as many listeners as we do. So, for the Jims that are out there, for the Joes that are out there, the Teddies that are out there. It's I think our last one, I had a couple folks say they actually had to pause the episode. Um, and then when they listen to the rest, they're like, okay, it makes sense because according to according to Josh, ever since what is it, April 9th, 1865, the world, the United States has been going to hell in a handbasket into the Civil War, for those out there who aren't familiar with the date. But thanks to everybody out there, and going back to I keep saying what Luke's statement is, the most valuable thing that you can give is your time. So appreciate it, everybody.
So I'll shout out. I think it's funny, we don't get on Warzone as much as we used to, but I really appreciate the guys that are in our little clan. It's always great to get on with those guys, and they're like, "Hey, when's y'all's next one coming out?" I don't know these guys, but I feel like I don't know them at all. Never met them, but I never met them. I don't say I don't know them. I feel like I do. So I appreciate you guys.
Danny. Danny always
yeah.
hits us up. Hey, man, when's another episode coming out?
You know who you are. And we actually during the podcast, I was telling some friends, "Hey, I'm recording. I'm sorry I can't get together with y'all." And one person said, "Hey, are you going to give me a shout out this time?" I was like, "I had no idea you listen." And they're like, "Well, of course I listen. This is where I get my news." She didn't say that, but something close to it. So this person right now, you go through phases in life, and you're like, this is my favorite person right now, and D is really my favorite person right now. I really enjoy being around D. So appreciate you listening. Really, I told D I give her a shout out. So, man, thanks for listening. I really, really do appreciate it. And I gave a few during the podcast. Appreciate y'all listening. So this is episode 107, and we went probably about 47 minutes longer than we intended. It's like we always have something to talk about. We appreciate y'all listening. So until next time, keep your canteen cups full and tightly secured.